You know how to handle one of these?
Of course I know how to.
Do you know what a last stand is?
Yes.
The year is 2024.
The name of the podcast, Babylon 5.
For the first time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the first time, not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin.
And I'm Brent Allen. You know, Jeff and I are two veteran Star Trek podcasters who decided that we needed to correct a mistake. We didn't watch Babylon 5 back when it came out. And here we are 30 years later, visiting this very old show to see how well they do something that, you know, we think all sci-fi shows should do. And we were so captivated. We fell so in love that we continued that journey with spin-off shows, books, and now the movies, the final movie for the first time.
Our note says for me to say, and just like always, we'll be searching for those messages, but I'm going to change that up a little bit, Brent.
Yeah.
For the last time, we're going to be searching for those messages, those mirrors to society that are held up, those things that science fiction can do better than almost anything else out there.
Yeah.
Sci-fi does this, not just Star Trek,
right?
Because it's not a Star Trek podcast. It never was.
Let's get into this episode where we're going to go watch this episode. Hey, listen, if you guys are joining us for the first time, great time to be joining us. Welcome. Every episode is somebody's first episode. What's getting ready to happen is Jeff and I are going to watch the movie Babylon 5, The Road Home right now. Right now. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, stick around because you're going to get to see Jeff and mine's reaction as we watch the video, the film, the movie, the thing. Yes. You're going to get to see our reaction as we watch the film. If you want to see the full unedited version of that reaction, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Babylon5First.
You do the thing, and I think you're telling me to do the thing.
Well, I was doing this, and I was like, oh, no, I'm supposed to say Babylon 5 first, not the other one. Like,
darn it, I cued him. Stop.
Right? All right, here we go. If you'd like to see the full unedited reaction, you can head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Babylon5First.
And if you're listening to us on a podcasting app, we are going to meet you in the future. Here in just a few seconds, we will have watched this movie, and then we're going to share our first-time reactions, and we're also going to talk about any of the messages that we uncovered. Brent, let's take the first step on the road home.
Let's do it.
Oh, looks good.
At the dawn of the third age.
No, you know what? I'm sorry. The only thing that saves that is knowing that this is animated.
Agreed.
Because that looks like season 1 CGI.
Oh, I don't think it looks like season 1. I just think it looks very animated. You know what I mean?
Right. But like, I would have sworn that this was like a live. I know I've said animation, but I was like, wow, that's really bad computer graphics there. And I was like, oh no, this is supposed to be animated. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's actually good, like cartoony animation, which is what we're looking for here.
Right.
A proud moment. A powerful moment.
Is that Lockley? Trying to place the voices.
I'm just giving up because I know they didn't go for voice matching.
Right.
Like the one guy who got the style, the essence, the guy, whoever's doing Jakar's voice, it sounded really good. I'm sure we've heard Delenn somewhere. I wasn't able to catch that.
I think she's the one that said we were there.
Yeah.
Damn it. They're waiting for us.
You know, having seen Bruce Boxleitner very grayed out, seeing Sheridan, who's still
challenged me.
Dark-haired, is...
I'm not having this conversation.
All right, just a quick check-in.
Yeah.
Where are you at on the animation style?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's not my favorite. No. They look way off of their real life counterparts.
Agreed.
Like they just don't even come close to looking like their real life counterparts. And the animation style looks, honestly, it looks hand drawn, not computered to me. Like this looks 2D hand drawn to me. That said, I don't care. Like I'm good. It's okay. It's animated. I like animation. So
that's fair.
How about you?
I'm stuck a little bit. This reminds me of later 80s cartoons, like some of the heavier sci-fi, almost heavy metal, you know, and some of that's in earlier 80s, but some of that sci-fi-ish animation that came out back then. And so, and a lot of that was not good.
Right.
And so I'm stuck. Like I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, I'm going to appreciate it, but I definitely have a callback to some of that 80s and 90s stuff that came out.
Before you start again, let's look at this picture.
Okay.
All right. All right. Here's what I'm looking around the people that we're seeing here. Okay. The first person that your eyes get drawn to is this woman right in between Sheridan and Delenn. It's either Lockley or Ivanova. Who do you think it is?
Well, that hairstyle, that's got to be Ivanova. But it doesn't make sense. It's not Ivanova. It's because, Brett, this is a scene we've seen before, essentially. This is Objects at Rest with Sheridan and Delenn leaving the station.
Interesting. Okay, good point.
I don't think we got the sock conversation, I don't think.
Right.
But
right. So right there, is that Richard Biggs? Is that Dr. Franklin on just off to the right side of Delenn's head?
Maybe.
But see, he would be if that was Franklin, he would be in the B5 uniform, not necessarily the Earth Force uniform.
At this point, that's right. Yeah.
You know, should be. Is this Lita over here on the side? No, because she would be gone, right? Is this Jakar over here, this Narn, looking at the Narn over there?
Because he's with Lita. He's with Lita. So I don't think there's anyone who's like a character.
I think this is Lockley right next to the Narn. Look at the Pockmer. The Pockmer looks really good. Yeah. Right there next to Lockley. Looks really good. There's a Drazi that looks awful over there, though. Like right next to one. Yeah. So interesting. There's a lot of Earth Force uniforms in that crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. We stopped it, wanted to analyze it. I'm soaking it in, Jeff. I'm soaking it in.
Well, and I think even looking at it, like this is a really good, it's a different shot of this part of Babylon 5 we didn't get before, but you've got that bridge up there, and that's where he gave his big speech, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to go blow the people up. And it's even got that thing in the back that looks like it kind of ramps up and go like, this is a really good render, a really good setup.
I know we've only had like maybe 3 lines from her, but how are you feeling that the voice actress is doing for Delenn?
Initially, I was very off-put.
Yeah.
But it felt forced, like the accent felt very forced in what she was doing. But in her interacting with Sheridan, I'm feeling a little bit of it. So I too soon to tell.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Can we please get back into it? This dude right here, the blonde guy right here.
Yeah.
He looks like Johnny freaking Storm. You know what I mean? Like,
and he's wearing Mass Effect NPC outfit as well.
There you go. Those eyebrows, dude. That's just, I mean,
intense.
Please don't let that be Ivanova. Don't let them have done Ivanova like that. I do remember seeing the render of the station. I saw a picture and I loved it. And I'm so looking forward to this shot right here.
Yeah, even just
that. This is an Interstellar News Network special report.
I only need you, Delenn.
Oh.
You're my universe, the brightest star in my sky.
They're still the best couple in all of sci-fi.
I love you too.
Just like,
It's Gideon and Lockley, man. Like.
Now get ready. Oh, and I brought you a present.
I was a lot more excited when they consummated than I was when this group consummated.
Woohoo!
Say that much. Oh, she got his socks. Oh, here's the timey thing.
All right, here we go. Tachyon surge.
Chronotrons. Jump gate looked better in Legend of the Rangers. Wow, it looks very She-Ra.
Thank you for coming, Mr. President. I was told that Satai Delenn would be joining us.
Satai
She's running
Delenn.
behind, but she'll be here before we're finished.
She's still Satai?
Good. Thank you very much. This way, please.
He's like cycling back in time like by seconds right now.
Mr. President?
Or he's seeing the future. And then
coming back to reality.
Yeah.
Either way, it's like a record
right
skipping.
Behind you.
But just skips once. John Sheridan, no stranger to time travel, immediately knew what was going on.
Okay, the president grabs his heart, goes over, and only one person rushes to him.
And only rushes to say, are you okay?
We should get help.
You should get help.
Everybody's just staring at him.
What kind of energy does this facility use? It was in the release. Nobody reads press releases. What's the
true.
damned energy source?
Here it is.
Tachyon.
There it is.
Oh, crap.
You got it. High five.
When we travel in time,
Excuse me, Jeff.
we pass through great waves.
It's Atheris.
Tachyon
Atheris.
impulses.
It's where that ends.
Michael O'Hare.
You can become
Sinclair.
unstuck in time unless there is Anchor. These will keep you from drifting. Also, protect you.
Okay, that voice as well.
Yes.
Terrible harm.
You have to turn off the system.
Once it starts, it cannot be terminated until it reaches full...
Then get me out of here before you want.
Stabilizer, it's hit. John!
No!
This is from War Without End. You've seen this part.
You might be so dead on with just traipsing through the moments.
Okay, hold on. I want to track what's happening. Okay, so Sheridan in War Without End has his little anchor.
Yep.
And he gets hit with tachyons that we didn't know where they came from.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
And what this is telling us is that the tachyons actually came from this moment in the future from the Minbari
power
energy
plant
thing and hit Sheridan, who has this leftover tachyon disruption from when he experienced it at War Without End. And so now it's causality looping back on itself, which I love. I love that. And so that, because he had this experience, that's what makes him susceptible to the tachyons, because now we're dealing with time. You actually now have an effect preceding a cause. Hello, Samantha Carter. You have the effect preceding the cause, right? So is that what you're tracking as well? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so it links everything together, and we're also just getting that. I think this is also, it serves as the reminder that Sheridan has been trapped in time before, right? So it's linking those things together.
This is the first time he's been trapped in time, because that's how time works.
Right, trapped in time for the first time.
All right. You know what? Sometimes I just like when sci-fi makes me sci-fi. Like, just make me nerd for a little bit. It's okay. Like, I don't have to do the messages. Just let me nerd. Okay, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Delenn is the only one going after the president of the Interstellar Alliance.
You better run.
But I can just stand here and not do anything. Delenn, no!
Run! Run!
The hardest part of dealing with the Pakmara, who,
that's going to be
as
Franklin.
You know, are carrion eaters.
It's got to be.
Is the methane residue they leave behind.
There you go. Old Franklin too, Jeff.
Yep.
Can be
Professor Franklin.
Don't panic. Don't.
Okay, whatever school he's teaching at has Minbari students.
Run!
Find Zathras.
Zathras? I'd rather be annihilated.
Stand by. We'll be right back. Are you ready to take your Babylon 5 for the first time experience to the next level? With our exclusive Patreon, you'll get access to all kinds of cool stuff that you can only find there. Our recording notes, unedited reaction videos, an exclusive Discord community. And you can even be listed as a producer of the show. Plus, we even offer exclusive meet and greets and hangouts. You won't find this kind of experience anywhere else. Get all these amazing benefits, plus the opportunity to interact with other fans from around the world. It's being part of a huge community where everyone shares the same appreciation for Babylon 5. Subscribe at patreon.com/Babylon5First. That's the number 5 and the word first to get access to these incredible benefits. That's patreon.com/Babylon5First. We can't wait to see you there.
Which one? Right. Find Zathras, not Zathras.
No. Yeah, you need Zathras. That's the one.
You need Zathras.
I even think about him,
if he goes after Zathras, he's going to be in trouble.
Agitation might hasten the time jumps.
Now you tell me.
So stay calm.
I told him he jumped 18 years instead of 23.
Oh.
Couldn't bear to tell him that he died 3 years ago.
He knows he's going to die.
Any idea where or when he's going?
None at all.
Wow.
So weird.
That was an entirely unnecessary thing, but
I think so.
Yeah. It works as just a shout out. You and I were talking about when is this? Where is this in that piece? So,
John?
Is it Dad? They put his dad in here.
Dad?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I thought about you and Mom and how much I loved you and this place. And it was like I could feel which way to go. I did.
So
followed that feeling all the way home.
Okay. There it was. I followed that feeling all the way home. So we just got told, this is the broadcast thing, right? Tell us what's going to happen, then it's going to happen, and then we'll debrief what happened. But he says in there, right, I was stuck in the corn, and I just remembered how much I loved my mom and dad, and I followed that feeling. So now we're going to fast forward. He's going to remember how much he loves Delenn, and he's going to follow that feeling, and that's how he's going to find his way out.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
The end of this film, his literal road home is going to be through the corn maze. He's going to go on this journey, and he's going to come back to his corn maze, whether it's at this moment or some other moment in whatever point in time. And he's going to physically be in the corn maze, having to follow his feeling out. And at the end of that is when he'll blip back into time and get restuck.
He'll come out, and instead of this scene with the house, we'll have a scene of Babylon 5.
No, Minbar, the Minbar.
That's what I would think,
or whatever.
But I think in this thing, Babylon 5 is home.
Except his new home is now in Minbar.
But it's our home.
But Delenn's on
and
Minbar.
that's what this movie is doing. It's our road.
But Delenn's on Minbar. All right, let's see what happens. Hey,
but not then, because then
when will then be now, Jeff?
Soon. We've read that joke before, but it's a good one.
I don't care.
It's interesting how we're going to a different time, but not necessarily
For a long while after that,
the places we've
I'd
been.
go in once a week to get lost on purpose. I love you, Dad.
He said it. Brent, he said it.
Said the thing. Finally,
so
you know what that is, Jeff? That is you and I time traveling around, telling JMS that he has to say the words.
Just say the freaking thing, man.
Yeah. You're about to jump again, dude.
Yep.
Or something's coming for you. It's following you through the time.
Yep, caught in the time thing with him.
Yeah.
It's Sauron.
You know, it's funny. I'm pretty sure as a full-grown adult, that corn is taller than he is.
Now where the hell am I?
Where are we, Jeff? Is this Mars?
It's got to be Mars. But he's breathing, barely breathing. Zahadum.
Zathras planets. Yeah, Zathras planet. Zathras planet. Zahadum. That's what I'm trying to say.
He'll be there with the Icarus. He's going to see the unearthing.
Oh, good call. I guess they have a breathable atmosphere there on Zahadum, which I guess we do. Anna.
Get back to base right now.
Like I said, you cannot change the past, John. Dude, we did not. They did not swarm like this. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't remember when it was. It might have been in lines of communication when we first met the Drock, but it was at some point. I remember guessing they were going to create some race of shadows so we could have like an actual enemy that we saw and they could do battles and stuff. We never did. And I wonder if was a budgetary limit. You know, we don't have the technology, we don't have the money, whatever. And I wonder if this is just like trying to bridge that gap. Like, hey, there was also all this other shadow stuff that went on. We just showed you the big capital ship stuff. Or these shadows are different?
I think so.
Keep resending on short range as
That's
long as
Ivanova.
we can. We need to get everyone off station.
Don't tell me, tell them.
What is this, Jeff? This is new. This is not.
Yeah, this isn't what happened.
We've never gotten a close-up of a shadow ship like that before.
This is alternate timeline stuff, I think, at this point. Yeah, dude, they're toast. They got nothing against the shadows at this point.
It's the launch sequence. I love
Been a
that
long
launch sequence,
time.
man. Just flings them out.
But if you're in charge during all this, then this must be some kind of a alternate timeline.
Doesn't matter. We have to get our people out, or they'll end up just as dead in this timeline as they be in yours.
He's right.
So will you.
Absolutely right.
Kinda figured.
I don't care if it's alternate or not. This is my
Ever had
timeline.
one of these? Do you know what a last stand is?
Yes.
I like this Sinclair.
Yeah.
This is a Sinclair who's very, very confident in his command.
Frankly, it's probably the best
Fought these
Sinclair we've
things
seen.
before. Is there any way we can stop them at close quarters?
Yeah, Sheridan's not reacting to them like they're different. So I think this is just like the other shadow stuff we didn't get.
Dude, the station self-defense weapons, man. We didn't get enough of that in the show.
Which I understand because it had to cost a fortune. But you do it once and just replay the scene. Hashtag Stargate SG1. We saw this.
This is the other timeline that we saw in the video.
This is Babylon 5. We are under attack. We need ships to pick up survivors.
This is the future that could be, they said, right?
Yep.
If you can hear my voice, we need help.
From Babylon Squared.
To save them.
Yeah, it's Babylon Squared if they didn't do all this stuff.
They're all over the place. They're killing us.
Punch him in the face.
Right.
Do shadows have an exoskeleton?
I think so.
Like if you punch them in the face, it wouldn't hurt them, right? Because they have the armor. Like, or would it? Like, can you just punch them? Remember Will Smith in Independence Day?
Yeah.
Like when he got inside the suit, he just punched him, knocked the dude out. Like,
well, in Stormtroopers, you punch a Stormtrooper, it knocks him out. And you saying that though just made me, I'm connecting some dots on this. So I'm like, oh my God, shadow foot soldiers. What is this? We saw these shadows. These are the shadows that killed Kosh. These are the shadows that were going around with Morden all the time.
Right.
So this isn't totally out of nowhere.
No, but the overwhelming number, because we saw these same shadows crawling over the planet going into the hole, right? When we got to Zahadum. Yes, these look like the shadows we have seen, but
many more.
Just so many more. But we never saw them on a field of battle with an advancement coming towards them.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I could imagine that taking a lot of people out. I'm okay. Like
it makes sense. It actually makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the shadows are awful because they have these big ships that just blow stuff. No, they're doing a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot more like the Reapers in Mass Effect.
Damn it.
Oh.
Jakarlita! My sights. Freezing his neurons was quite unnecessary.
We are agreed that we're in season 1, Babylon 5 time frame.
Yes.
Why are Lita and Jakar doing anything together right now? They had an interaction where he asked for her to make babies with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't talk again until season 5. And they told us that they didn't talk again until season 5.
Mm-hmm. And she wasn't on the show. She wasn't on the station.
Right. Which
she got pulled in.
Alternate timeline. I'm just saying, like what we're seeing here is what we know as end of season 5 in this universe happening 4 years too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why would season 1 Jakar offer to sacrifice himself for anybody?
Right.
I mean, his people, yes, but not if there's other people too.
Right. Unless this is Alita and Jakar from another alternate timeline that got pulled into this one.
Maybe.
I'm going to go with that as my headcanon to make this work.
Oh, just help me pull the damn switch.
Oh, wow. Have a nice day.
And this was sleeping at night.
Oh, that looks cool.
Yeah. Dude, it always looks cool when you blow up your hero ship.
This is Captain Elizabeth Lockley to anyone receiving on Epsilon 3.
That's Tracy Scoggins.
Kindly do not shoot us down until we have had a chance to explain the situation.
Come on, Drawl.
Don't shoot us down afterward. Basically, just don't shoot us down, okay?
They're talking to each other. Now we're droids.
It says very battle droid.
Okay, come on. So far, it might be the lamest part of the whole movie to me. And you know what? If that's the lamest part of the whole movie, that's
awesome.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Things change since first Zathras met the One. Now he is lost in time.
And lost in...
I do not say. Even now, many issues with copyright.
There is 49 of you left. Is that correct?
No. Great machine replicate.
That was incredible. That was incredible.
JMS, well done, my friend. Well done.
Beautiful.
That was great.
Oh, man.
Editing note, get this clip and put it out on the socials. Oh, my word. That was good.
Replication system has been very busy.
Uh-oh.
Behold.
How many? How many, Jeff? Zathri.
He said the Zathri.
So the official plural of Zathras is Zathri.
You have heard of Big Bang?
Yes.
This will be big silence. The end of all.
You know, I just came here for a...
So, sorry, I have to interlope on this one. The concept that they're talking about here, I totally get. I'm with them, right? The taking it and spinning it to make it to affect the story, there's the entire fiction that comes along with it.
Yes, right. That's the stretch.
Because it's almost like I'm going to take this line that I got from a scientist, and then I'm going to extrapolate all this other stuff, not being a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, no, but also we can't prove it, so I can't tell you you're wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, okay, I mean, if this is the way you're going to roll with it, at least you're laying out how we're going to roll with it.
Yeah, and it quantum physics only suggests this; it doesn't tell us that. So whatever. Anyway, but still, sorry.
But science fiction, so it's okay.
So it's hard for doctors to watch medical shows sometimes.
Exactly.
I'll leave it there. All right, here we go.
Quantum probabilities bend to your quantum perspective. Shadow was great part of your life.
Interesting.
You are drawn to what you feel. Drawn by your...
That is Jeff. I'm fully going to congratulate JMS here. One of the problems I have always had with alternate reality timelines is the way that whole idea works is of all the different variations that you could have out there of timelines, very few of them would actually be super close to where you are.
Oh, they'd be so different.
They'd be so different. So getting into science fiction where we find all of these ones that are like ours, putting that in there, that because this is your reality, those are the ones that you get drawn to, and the observer affects the observer. So you pull those into you. That, I like that.
It makes a lot of sense.
Any science behind that whatsoever, but I love the explanation. I've never heard that before. I love it. I'm going to run with it. I want to say it
makes sense to me.
That's real science is what that is.
Stay back!
Sure. The best way to have somebody stay calm is to keep yelling at them to stay calm.
Works all the time.
No one listens to Zathras.
That guy did a great job with Zathras.
Okay.
Earth or Minbar? Let's go Earth.
Anyone there?
Over here, Captain Sheridan.
Oh, Yolando!
Out of uniform, I see.
They're going to destroy Earth?
A Vorlon planet killer is moving into position. So they decided to use something that will take less energy because it's only 1/4 the size.
Mass driver. Hurling the moon.
It's 1/6 the size, not 1/4. Sorry.
JMS, the expert's right here. You should have considered.
Sorry.
That's cool. Yep. Yeah, that's super old school animation right there. Kind of chunky and everything.
You know what? Considering JMS's history with He-Man, She-Ra, Real Ghostbusters, and that was his animation day.
Yeah.
This makes all the sense in the world that this is the animation style they use.
Oh.
Stay back!
Don't look at me! Of course it's going to hit Florida.
Of course it is. Now the moon is a part of
it. It's not how it works. Even I know that.
That's literally how planetary bodies come together. Like, that's how planetary bodies are formed, is by stuff like that colliding. Although something of that, I don't know what speed the moon was coming in at.
Right, true, yeah.
Great Council?
What the hell is
We're
this?
at the end. We're at the Empress.
Where did the stars go? The observer affects the observed.
How many times are we going to say
Without
that in
the
this film?
observer, there cannot be the observed. That is the secret. For now, you are that observer.
So nothing is out there until we go look at it.
And if I die...
Everything dies. Yes. Everything is possible. And that is the glory and wonder of mortality.
It's kind of a-hole move right there on Jakar's part, man. Like, just,
whatever.
Just speak plainly.
Or whatever it is Jakar is representing.
Yeah. Uh-oh, where are we now, Jeff?
On the Excalibur.
That would be cool. But he can't, though. Rights, Warner Brothers doesn't have rights to Crusade stuff.
Okay, there's the Zocalo.
Lanier.
What if Lanier and Veer were both having a drink right there?
Yes? Oh, yeah. Oh, my head.
Oh, now he's going to talk to himself.
Nah, that's season 1. Oh, no, it's season 2, because it's him. You're right. Yeah.
This just gets better and better.
Do you consent to the scan?
Yes.
Hey, ask for consent. There you go.
This might feel a little funny.
So did Lita just see her own death?
She might have seen a couple of them.
You never...
Yet.
You never had the Shadow War?
Not yet.
Look at his uniform.
Although Sinclair just did.
Coming up on 2 years now. Why?
He said his name is Zathras. Works for the Great Machine?
Yeah. No one listened to Sheridan.
Even
Bay 9 and 10.
Focus on what you were thinking when first shift happened.
Stephen said the same thing, but I don't remember.
Zathras thinks you do.
Follow the
and
feeling.
So does she.
How much I loved you. And this place. And it was like I could feel which way to go.
Jeff.
Followed that feeling.
There it is. And we open.
Oh.
No, hold
that
on.
That would have been incredible.
Thinking about how much I loved my wife.
You are not alone.
His anchor is Delenn.
Yep.
You are not alone.
When she
I apologize for that.
We told her, great danger.
God, because they're the same. They're connected. They also transcend time and
across
space.
Time and space ever since. Never giving up. Never surrendering.
Never gonna give you up.
No,
Never
give up. Never surrender by Grapthar's hammer. That is not copyrighted. Maybe the Grapthar's hammer.
Love is
Maybe, yeah, that part. Yeah.
Powerful force in the universe.
You know, all you need is love.
All you need is love. You know what? She is the one.
This is where she goes bad, and she's like, actually, I will destroy you all. Follow my siren song, and nothing shall go wrong.
Dude, Delenn's a Flargan bad man.
Sorry, 12-year-old Jeff showed up for a second.
Home.
Let's go!
They're gone.
He's not wrong. Love is a powerful thing.
Wow.
Never chrysalis.
I was going to say, Sheridan wasn't around for this,
Putting her
Delenn.
own life at risk. Repairs are almost finished. Anytime now.
Why are you always so hostile?
That was all three ship station commanders together.
No.
Does he have a red eye?
Dr. Franklin, good. I have a rather ugly growth that needs to be removed. Standing beside me.
Talk to the wrist.
That Dr. Franklin looks good.
Yeah, agreed.
Another time, Londo.
That was good. That sounded like
Whatever
everybody.
that is.
Let's go.
I like that. Come on, JMS. Way to end that.
All right, Brent.
Jeff.
We just watched The Road Home.
We did.
We are home. We made it through. What are your first thoughts on it?
You know, Jeff, I was realizing in the middle of watching this that you and I don't know if this is an advantage or disadvantage. All right.
Okay.
We are in a different place with this than the first ones, the fans who watched this during the P10 days, or even the ones who caught up, you know, in the intervening years.
Mm-hmm.
They waited years and years to get something. Babylon 5 goes offline. Occasionally you get a little movie here and there. You get this little blip of Crusade, and that was kind of fun for, you know, the 6 months that it lasted. And then, you know, you get a pilot. Oh, we're going to try another pilot, see if we can't get another show. Okay, that doesn't work out. We're going to get this thing straight to DVD thing with Lost Tales, and that, oh yeah, well, they're kind of screwing stuff around. So that's not going to work out. You know, is there going to be a reboot? Is there going to be this? Hey, we got this thing, super huge anticipation, which frankly, Jeff, can only give everybody expectations of what they want to see. And then JMS is going to come in and he's not going to give them what they want because they have their expectations, and he's going to put in the show that he does, unable to meet everybody else's unspoken expectations. And I imagine in many ways, this was probably fairly disappointing for a lot of fans.
Okay.
You know, just by that nature, like it's so hyped up, so whatever, so everything for it. Ideas of what it could be and their idea, you know, what people would blame me for. It didn't meet their expectations.
It's not what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so you didn't like it and you judged it, right? Like I can imagine that's the case. All right. I hope that people were able to also set that aside when they saw what it was and be able to interact with it on its own terms for what it was. That being said, you and I just rolled right into this.
Yeah.
Everything's fresh. It's a part of the deal. We knew that
we were watching Babylon 5 a matter of hours ago, you know, relatively.
Exactly.
So
exactly. So you and I don't have the anticipation for this film that they did. You know, I didn't have time to build it up in my head. And for many, like I said, I can imagine this is a disappointment. That said, from my perspective, in my timeline, my reality, I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. And ultimately, this felt like the perfect cap on the franchise as a whole for two guys who started 30 years too late and ran through the whole thing to let this be the punctuation mark at the end. This is not the sentence. You know what I mean? This is not the meat of what Babylon 5 was. This is the punctuation mark at the end. And it felt perfect to me. Was it this phenomenal, amazing film that's going to launch everything? No, it's not. Was it a fun romp through time? Yeah, but it was a little bit more than that, a little bit different than that. This was, I don't want to say letter to the fans, love letter to the fans. I just feel like it's kind of cheesy, but this was, it was good. It was perfect for what it was. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. How about you?
That's really good perspective on it. Because I think, I would take it much different if I hadn't seen anything new in, you know, over a decade. Your comment about a love letter to the fans or something like that, you know, it's one of the things you and I have talked about with, that's not a reference. We've talked about with Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yeah.
It is a love letter to the fans. And it's effective because it's not written by the people it's written by fans, you know, and it's not even a love letter to the fans. It's actually a love letter to the franchise. And I agree, that's not what this was by any means. But what I almost think it might have been was a love letter to himself.
Ooh,
what you and I know, and we'll talk about here in a couple of weeks, having read Becoming Superman, is Joe Straczynski went through literal hell to make this thing happen. And that culminated right in a title card at the end of an episode that we watched a couple months ago. You know, hey, to those who didn't believe.
Right.
But there's so much more to it than that. He literally put his life on the line for this show, for this story to be told, and for it to come back and not be a fun romp through time, but an examination of what he put out there. Right. And not like a deep examination, but just like, hey, look at all this stuff that we created. Look at this massive universe with depth and lore and complexity and science fiction that I created. And it's amazing. And not only is it amazing on its own, but the ideas, the concepts, the characters that I created are strong enough that they can exist in any time, space, or place. I think this was, and you know, not in a negative way, but this was a self-congratulatory exploration by JMS of like, look what I did. And for you, the people who enjoy this, I want you to enjoy this with me. It wasn't just him, right? He's like, I did this and I'm so proud of myself and it's awesome. And you are a part of this and I want to share it with you. Overall, it was okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah.
If I'm being super honest, I may never watch this again. It's okay. It's fun, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't whatever. But if I had waited over a decade to see something Babylon 5 and I saw this, I can 100% see where there'd be disappointment for people. That would make sense.
But I also have to imagine that it did really well because so many people wanted to see it. You know,
Absolutely.
soak in anything that you give us that's Babylon 5. I'll tell you one thing. I'm sorry. I'll tell you one thing that this film absolutely proves to me is it's kind of your point. It proves that there are existing aspects of the Babylon 5 universe that we have not explored yet.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean, oh, there's this crusade and what comes next. No. Within what we've already explored, where did that possible future go in that video that we saw of Ivanova? We saw it here. This was that story in some ways, you know. I don't know that this was meant or designed to Kelvin timeline the Babylon 5 universe.
I agree.
You know what I mean? To set up an alternate future or alternate reality. So now we explore things in that reality without having to affect the Prime universe. You know, I don't know that it meant to do that because at the end we get Sheridan and Delenn. Delenn hasn't chrysalised. They haven't woken up the shadows, all that sort of stuff. You know, I don't know that that's what this was meant to do. I think in many ways, if I'm reading the tea leaves right, because this would have come out before the writer's strike, I think, or maybe right as the writer, whatever. But Warner's is interested in a reboot for Babylon 5 and bringing something back, regardless of your feelings of that. They've been interested in it. So I think in some ways there's a little bit of a, hey, do you still have an audience? Go
Float
do
the
something.
balloon.
Let's do something and see what your audience is, see if the audience is there. And so that feels like that's what this is. And whatever comes next is not going to come based off of this, you know, but it does set up some interesting possibilities for comic books, other future animated stuff. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, you don't have to, but if you want to, you could.
It creates the mirror universe, right? And you know what? Here, we're making references here, so I'll hit them.
Right.
But it creates that mirror universe. And what we know is in the Star Trek world, in comic books, there's all these little mini-series of, you know, Voyager in the mirror universe and the Enterprise D. And it's just fun. They don't mean anything. They're just fun. It's a place to tell a story. And it absolutely created that for those other things. But I think, like on your point of more stories to be told within what exists, you and I have talked about a number of times, and even here on this program, that Babylon 5 is the story of Londo Mollari.
Right.
What this postulates or presents is that it's the story of Sheridan and Delenn. So multiple times has that relationship pulled Sheridan out from the depths of Zahadum, the depths of this time thing.
Yeah.
And the movie ended with the two of them together having zero romantic, you know, connection at all, just two coworkers, and with their relationship beginning to bud. It's like whatever the reality.
You're talking about alternate Sheridan and Delenn.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-chrysalis Delenn.
Right.
Non-goateed Sheridan. But yeah, it's like regardless of the reality, they are two forces that come together, and those two forces together literally change the galaxy.
Right. I have a criticism though.
Okay.
And you and I talked about this during the run of Babylon 5. And it really, I was thinking this the entire way through. So Sheridan gets hit with these tachyon things. He starts blipping through time, right? He starts blipping through time. Love is the thing that brings you home. All of a sudden, there's this thing that's chasing him, and turns out it's Delenn that's chasing him. And she is what pulls him back in, right? But still, after all this time, Delenn is shunted as Sheridan's wife. As she's still kind of off to the side as Sheridan's, like she's almost in his shadow still a little bit. You know what I mean? Because remember, like there was good, strong strength Delenn, but the further we got into things, the more Delenn just became Sheridan's wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it still showed here that she's just Sheridan's wife, you know. But she was the reason that he got brought home. She was the catalyst. She was going after him. I don't want to
diminish
that. Thank you. I kept saying dictate or delineate. And I was like, this is not the right words. I don't want to diminish that. But still, like, Delenn wasn't a part of the story. She wasn't a part of the adventure. She wasn't doing, you know, I mean, my God, Jeff, you know, there's one man who has ever destroyed a Minbari ship, and he is behind me, and you are before me. If you fear for your life, be somewhere else. Like,
oh my God,
that kind of Delenn, you know, oh my gosh, like that's, I just want that Delenn. And it's going to be so hard because Mira has unfortunately passed beyond the rim now. And I don't know that anybody's ever going to be able to replace or replicate that and move that forward. And that's okay. But that if I had not even a major, if I had a criticism, like,
but I think that's a meta crit. That's not a criticism of this movie. Like you said, that's Babylon 5. It was in the story of Babylon 5. They even in the open, they even basically said they were going to do this. Veteran of the Shadow War and now Interstellar Alliance President John Sheridan is accompanied by his wife, who's also a veteran of the Shadow War. Right there. And it's so disappointing. You know, she becomes president. You know, she does amazing things.
Leader of the Rangers.
Exactly. Jal'Zha. Naroon, right? Jal'Zha.
Right.
It was her that did that.
Right. But that being said, let's talk about the film we actually got instead of the one we could have got.
Let's do that. Yes.
All right. Let's just run through it real quick. The voice acting.
Okay. Yes.
All right. And specifically the voice acting of our actors who have had to be recast. How did you think they do? Let's just run through it. How did you think the person who did Delenn did?
I think she was okay. She captured the overall vibe. I felt that she had an overly affected accent, though. Like, that was a little distracting to me. How did you think she did?
I thought she did great. Yeah. For the idea of don't replicate her voice, just replicate the character. I thought that particular character did great.
Okay. What do you think of Franklin?
He was fine. He was fine. For the majority of what we got for Franklin, he was very old Franklin. So the fact that it would be different, you know, Richard Biggs he had this almost droning side to his voice that was very commanding and very authoritative. And I don't know that we got that here, but you know, all that could be mitigated by age and wisdom as he goes forward. So what'd you think Garibaldi?
Garibaldi, my note was literally, was okay. Sounded like him some of the time. Didn't really get enough of him to even like get a view into his character.
How about Sinclair?
Oh, I liked Sinclair a lot.
This was my favorite Sinclair.
Yeah, I liked everything. I liked the voice. I liked the animation. I liked the character. We were very harsh on, unfortunately, Michael O'Hare in the beginning of our view of this. But even once we were made aware of his struggles, I was very hard on the character of Sinclair. This is what that character was supposed to have been.
Yeah.
More commandy-y. Like, this guy. I agree. We saw a war hero, Sinclair, in this movie.
Who perhaps didn't have the PTSD.
Or was like getting actively treated. Like he wasn't sitting around playing with trying to kill him or get hurt or whatever.
Let's see, who else were we missing? We had
Jakar.
This was the worst one to me.
Agreed.
The voice was not anywhere close, which is okay, but just there was none of the gravitas that Andreas would bring to a line.
100%. And what I feel like is that the voice actor affected gravitas in a way that it sounded put on and fake and emotionless. Like what Katsoulis brought was he like made things big and heavy, and it spoke to like the core of your being.
Right.
This guy was reading lines as a voice actor.
Now, that I want to be fair. No one is going to step in the shoes of Andreas Katsoulis and do it justice. You're not going to. So whoever that was that was brave enough to do that.
Exactly. Well, maybe dumb enough. Because here's the thing. I'm a voice actor, and I'm like, okay, here's the parts. Okay, so I already got Sinclair Cass. So you've got Jakar and Londo. Yeah, I'm out. Not going to do it. Not even going to try.
Well, your only comfort is at least they're not going to see my face.
Exactly. They may not know. Can I use a pseudonym in the credits? Because I want to be attached. I'll take the paycheck.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
I'm going by another stage name altogether. Just out of respect, honestly. Like, there's no way I'm coming close.
Then the one we didn't talk about, who I think was the best of the voice acting, was Zathras.
He was okay, but I thought Zathras was better.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
Zathras, I think, was the best.
But
Sheridan literally ruining the joke. He's just stepped on the whole thing.
Right. But talk about not matching the voice, but matching the style, getting the character right. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Perfectly.
Nailed it. So great. So great. We talked a little bit during the recording, and so we'll do it here for posterity's sake, about the animation style.
Yeah.
You nailed it. You called it out. It's very late 80s. It feels hand-drawn, 2D celled, very late 80s, which kind of makes sense.
Right.
Because JMS's animation days was back during the late 80s with He-Man, She-Ra, Real Ghostbusters.
Let's do a little thing really quick, because you brought that up during the watch and it made total sense. But also earlier when we were on Minbar, I made the comment, I'm like, wow, this has strong She-Ra vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see anything that would have had Real Ghostbuster vibes or He-Man vibes? Like, I'm wondering if maybe he peppered some things in, intentionally.
I didn't notice anything, but now I kind of want to go back and look just to see.
I think the eye that was chasing was Delenn through the whole thing. That's kind of Real Ghostbuster-y.
The dude that I called out is Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
There was a group shot. Okay, for the audio folks out there, there was a group shot that Jeff and I stopped the image on, and we were kind of going around trying to pick out who was who. There was one dude who was white as all get out with blonde hair. And I said he looks like Johnny Storm. That guy right there looks like he could have been out of Real Ghostbusters. One of the characters from Real Ghostbusters.
Yep.
He had that kind of look to him.
I don't think anybody really had the He-Man body type or any aesthetic from that. But yeah, that was an interesting thought. We saw a real different view of the Shadow War in this. The whole thing revolved around the shadows and the Shadow War for quantum reasons. But we talked about this also, but we saw Shadow foot soldiers.
Yeah. En masse. Like a huge infantry of them. Which was a little, it was a little jarring to me.
Agreed.
as a viewer, because it's not anything that we really got, not on a field of battle. We saw the shadows and kind of en masse, running around Zahadum. We saw that.
No, we saw them with Mr. Morden. They went and beat up Kosh. We saw the couple of them, but we never saw on a battlefield in formation, perfect lines, running forward with shields and almost a phalanx type thing. We never got that. And I never had that impression of the shadows, that's how they operated, because the shadows always operated by getting other people to fight wars. They instigated it with others. They didn't necessarily always do it themselves, although they certainly went around stirring crap up too. But so that was a little jarring, but also I get it. That makes sense.
We can do it here for cost-effective measures.
Make it happen. It reminded me, so in the very first Mass Effect game, we get introduced to the Reapers, and I talked about the parallels between the Shadows and the Reapers on here before, but they're really painted as this existential threat that transcends our understanding of warfare and battles. They're gonna attack us in a way that we can't even imagine.
Right.
Fast forward to Mass Effect 3, and all of a sudden we have all these monsters and foot soldiers and stuff that are fighting ground battles on these different planets, and it's a little jarring at first, but then also you realize you can't have an existential video game, that's fighting the concept. You have to do something.
Right.
I feel like this is a similar thing. In one hand, it made sense in that you're going to fight some conventional battles. There are these little shadow people that are shadows doing stuff, but much like the Mass Effect 3 Reapers demystified the Mass Effect 1 Reapers, I feel like knowing there's foot soldiers with these Akaridian shields from Three Below, they kind of demystified the shadows as well.
Right.
And they make sense. Both.
We learned a few things, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, like because we've had this conversation. I feel like we had this conversation more than once during the run of the show, but we now know canonically the plural of Zathras is Zathri.
And that Zathri are connected across time and space.
That's a little weird. That's a whole lot of Zathri out there.
Lots.
That's a whole lot of them.
With the Great Machine replicating them at an alarming rate, we should be worried. We made, I tracked them. We made 8 time jumps.
Okay.
During the whole time. So the first time jump was to the future.
Okay.
What we learned was 23 years into the future with Dr. Franklin.
And
that was the first time. Yeah. That was the initiation of the drinking game called The Observer Affects the Observed, which, by the way, I'm wasted from that game. Oh, my God. Time number 2, we went into season 2 of Babylon 5 on Earth with Sheridan's dad, which we talked about it during the thing. He said the words to his dad.
Yeah. Finally.
I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad.
Oh. Say the words, folks. Say the words.
And time jump number 3 went to Zahadum with the Icarus. He saw the shadows awaken. And time 4, this is our first alternate timeline. We went to season 1, Babylon 5. We saw Babylon squared as if they did not go and get Babylon 4 and make all this stuff happen. So we saw that piece. Time number 5.
But specifically with that, in Babylon squared, we saw a video
of that reality.
Ivanova, and we were just told it was a possible future if XYZ didn't happen. Well, it's not just a possible future. It's actually an alternate reality. And we went to that alternate reality.
It's the multiverse concept, right? It's not a possible future. It's a future in a different place, time, space, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Time number 5 was when we saw Zathras. We were on Babylon 5 with Lockley, and they went down to the Great Machine. In 6 was a very alternate ending. This was on Earth with Londo and Ivanova when we lost the Shadow War.
And they used a mass driver to throw a moon that in this reality was a quarter the size of Earth, not a sixth, and threw it into the planet.
Yeah, that was.
And then the planet exploded,
which doesn't happen.
Not usually.
Time number 7 was interesting. Yeah. It was almost. It wasn't necessarily a time or place. He just kind of went up to the rim.
Yeah, that was very. It was very weird. It was very. We're in limbo.
Yes, it felt Matrix. Matrix Revelations, or was that the third one? Whatever the third, Matrix 3, when he talks to the architect. Like, you go to this weird in between place. The architect tells you all the stuff that's going down. In this place, they just happen to be in this like almost liminal space with Jakar. The manifestation of Jakar telling him.
I mean, no, I guess that's not a good example. Yeah.
In that time, I had a thought that I took down. I'm curious what you think. I get why they had it be Jakar, the relationship, and if that was a Katsulis doing that, it would have been amazing. Should that have been Lorianne?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly who that should have been.
And then the final time jump.
And by the way, he confirmed for us that Jakar and Lita did reach the rim.
Yes, that they actually went beyond the rim. Saw what was going on out there.
Yeah.
Which means the Jakar that we saw in the movie that shall not be named had been beyond the rim and back.
There you go.
Which is another reason to not like that movie. Are there any of those time jumps you want to talk about or dive into at all?
Not necessarily, just because it was the story. But there's an aspect of it I do want to jump into. The one where we went to the alternate season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where the shadows had come to Babylon 5 and were destroying everything. Again, we talked about this during the reaction. For our audio listeners, I want to make sure we get it in here. There was something very weird about that, though.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Because this is an alternate timeline in season 1 in which the shadows come to Babylon 5, right? And we say season 1. I mean, I don't know when that actually could have been. Sinclair could have stayed the commander in that reality of Babylon 5 for a very long time. But
we know
Garibaldi had the shorter hair. So
exactly. And I think it was the year 2257, I think, when that happened. We know it was that because we saw it happen in season 1, Babylon Squared. Like, it took a real moment that we know to have happened.
Right. But that moment that they saw in Babylon Squared could have been from a future, could have been from the alternate timeline's future.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember they had 10 days. Like it was 10 days for, if we don't
Oh,
do
you're
something.
right. Never mind. Okay. So take out what I just said. You're right. You're right. So, but anyway, on that ship, Alita and Jakar show up all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And this Lita and Jakar were very clearly the Lita and Jakar that went off at the end of season 5 to go gallivanting around the universe.
Absolutely.
Now you can tell me they weren't, but that's who they were. Which the only way that makes sense is if that Lita and Jakar were an alternate Lita and Jakar who had come to this alternate timeline.
We're also traveling through all the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe that was our Lita and Jakar. Well, no, because the thing got blew up. So they can't. But yeah, so it was an alternate Lita and Jakar from a third alternate timeline that had been pulled into this alternate timeline. And that's the only way that makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to see Lita still as a badass, though.
Right. Doing stuff.
And that's the thing. That Lita that we saw was a post Byron Lita.
Yes.
Like that's how we know that it's from there. Because that's a post Byron Lita.
She had her bad A stuff going on. She had her confidence. She was cracking jokes about it. That was 100%.
That she never had prior to. I liked, well, also in that, Sinclair, we talked about how this was the best Sinclair we've ever seen.
Agreed. Yes.
And
absolutely.
I think my favorite part about this Sinclair was when he meets Sheridan, who's time hopping, and he's like, tell me who you are. You've got 15 seconds or whatever. And he's like, I'm from an alternate timeline and we've got to get here and we've got to, he goes, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because this is my timeline and this is this is my real timeline. Your timeline is the alternate timeline to me. Like that doesn't matter. We've got to take care of this now. And I loved the decisiveness, the clarity, like all of that. I loved that coming out of him for Sinclair.
Yeah, it makes me hungry for what could have been, right? To have that Sinclair through season. And we got glimpses. Absolutely, we got glimpses of that, but it would have been great to have that character through all of that.
But hey, that timeline is just as, because how often have we seen a sci-fi episode where we interact with an alternate timeline and we're very okay letting that timeline get destroyed or letting that timeline get completely jacked up just for the sake of saving our own timeline? And what this says is, no, that timeline is just as valid and legitimate and deserving of protection as ours.
A lot of it, and we won't go into detail because I know I don't want to give you any spoilers, but like that comes up in season 5 of Lower Decks. There's a point where they're like, some of their, another version of the Cerritos comes up and like, we have to save the Prime Universe. And like, well, we're the Prime Universe. No, I'm the Prime Universe. Back and forth. And actually, in a real way, I'll just say much of the plot of this movie is also the plot of the 5th season of Lower Decks.
Okay.
So I'll just give you that piece.
I'm like episode 2 or 3 into Lower Decks. I was kind of saving it so I could just binge it all once it came out. So,
which is a good way to do those things. But
right.
Yeah, when we started figuring out the whole like, the quantum realities of this and that the traveling through stuff was eventually going to lead to the destruction of everything. I was just like, I literally just watched this scene on Lower Decks. Like, wow. Which came out after this, by the way. So just to be clear.
There you go. Star Trek ripping off Babylon 5 yet again.
Unimaginable.
Unbelievable. So the story science of what forced this whole thing I found to be very interesting. So Sheridan, old Sheridan, having in his past become unstuck in time during the World War Without End incident, left him susceptible to tachyon energy.
Yes.
Would kind of screw around with him. As he gets older, he encounters this tachyon energy from the Minbari energy plant that just came online, and he gets knocked out of time. He gets unstuck in time now as an older man, but turns out because of the way all that works, that is actually the event that unstuck him in time during the War Without End, which we never knew why that happened in the first place. And so what we have here, and I love this, what we have is an effect preceding a cause, which is something that Dr. Sam Carter talks about in Stargate quite a few times.
Exactly.
But it's the effect preceding the cause. I love that. And again, it goes to my whole thing that time is a closed sphere and all points are happening at the same time. So I love that. Like, that tracks with everything. It does not, that loop is not a paradox to me. It works 100% of the time. I love it. Love it.
And I got to say, you are famously anti-time travel stuff.
No, I'm anti-changing time travel stuff.
Which is what time travel TV is all about.
I know. You can't do it because it's be so boring. I'm like, well, we don't have to do anything because we can't change the past even if we tried. So we were always here in every iteration of this. So let's just see what happens.
That's why I think it's a big deal that, like, especially when pseudo Jakar or whatever was breaking stuff down, you were just like, yeah, like either yes, that makes sense, or that may not necessarily make sense, but there's nothing that disproves it. So, okay. It impressed you, and that's a big deal.
Sure. I have a final note.
Okay.
Which is just possibly my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, because, Jeff, what have I always said? If you can make me laugh, you've won me over. And the best part was Zathras and Sheridan walking down the time. And he's like, yes, you have become unstuck in time or lost in time. And Sheridan turns around and goes, and lost in and Zathras goes, no. Even here, copyright is a very big deal. Can't say lost in space.
This is so great. That was such a great.
It's so funny.
Literally, the only thing that would have made that better is if it was Lanier who said that.
Fair.
Not the copyright part, right? Zathras doing it, but he should, if he had the Sheridan line, that would have been
saying the lost in space. Yeah.
That would have been great.
That was it. I mean, we had to pause the video for a moment just to collect ourselves. It was, I don't know why that hit me as so funny.
I snorted. I was laughing.
You snorted so bad. I hope, Jeff, that people who have seen this movie before now, who just sort of rolled over that part and didn't think it was that funny, watched it with us and now appreciate it on a whole new level. I really hope.
They're like, hey, this movie's amazing, actually. Right? It's so good.
Right. Watching it with Jeff and Brent was so much better than watching it by myself. So I hope that's the case. We're like that. Jeff, do you have any other notes you want to get into on this?
I have a lot of just little observation notes or things like that, but I don't think anything really worth discussing. I think the one thing that stood out to me that I really enjoyed, and just because it's recency bias, but we watched The Lost Tales last week, and one of the best parts of that was him and Dr. Frazier doing the ISN thing, and he was just awful about, like, I hate you, and I hate all this dumb stuff I have to do as president. And seeing that mirrored here, I think it was just really good character continuity and done very well. His whole, no, it's fine. I love opening shopping malls. I thought that was pretty great, but no, it was good. I just really appreciated this for its character, a lot of its character stuff.
I think that's a part of what you're supposed to appreciate about this film.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to. Anyway, Jeff, with that, then I think we have reached the part where we do the thing. We do the thing that you and I have done for 100. Let's hear 111, 110. There's 110 plus how many movies? 7 movies?
7, so that's 117.
Okay, 117.
13 episodes of
130 Crusade.
Yeah, 130 episodes.
So for 130 episodes, for the 130th time, Jeff, did you pull any messages out of The Road Home?
I think the big message is that we need to learn more about quantum physics. No. You know, I pulled out a lot of little ones that are there and whatever, but like this, it had 2 messages, and it had the 2 messages that I think that pervade all science fiction. The big one is why, just why, you know? And when you explore the why, when you're curious about the why of anything, that's where you get to the stuff. Like, that's the big important thing.
Right.
And the other big message that we see so often in science fiction and so many other forms of storytelling is that destruction is easy. Hate is easy, but love is the most powerful force in the galaxy, because all you need is love.
Dun, da, 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 dun.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think that was the point of that was the whole point of this movie was love is what connects us to the things that are important to us. And love is the thing that will bring us back to what's important to us. And I think now that I say that, I think that backs up my theory that this is JMS's love for what he created, because he came back to it. It brought him back. It was his road home. Then I pulled out a couple other little ones. Perspective changes everything, right? When you talked about, I grew taller than the corn, even though the corn's taller than me now. It's
early summer corn is what it was. Early summer corn.
Yeah, exactly. If no one sees it, if there's no meaning, does it even actually exist, right? Mm-hmm. I think the message they were trying to really hit us over the head with was the observer affects the observed. Message received.
I don't think that was a message. I think that was a scientific thing that got latched onto, and we're going to build everything else off that one idea. However, we don't necessarily understand that idea correctly, but that's okay.
I read this in an article and I thought it was pretty cool. I'm gonna write a movie about it.
Right.
Did you find any other messages, or did you want to dive into any of those?
I had two, and you kind of hit both of them, but I'll go with you. The perspective changes everything, which literally is what the rest of it was about. Mm-hmm. Outside of I stopped looking once I got tall, but perspective changes everything. It's literally the observer affects the observed, and it, I don't even know. I don't know, but your perspective does change everything. I love the idea. He's getting himself lost just to prove that he could get out until he got tall enough to see over the corn, and then he didn't have to get lost anymore. I don't have to go through that silliness anymore, because now I've risen above it. But the biggest one, and I want to take what you said about love, and I just want to encapsulate it in terms of the film.
Yeah.
Love is the greatest anchor of all. Love transcends time and space. That's all I got.
There you go. Bum, ba-da-da-da. Well, Brent, I love this part of the show we're about to dive into.
Mm-hmm.
And this part might exist in some form for us in an alternate reality or the future. We'll find out. But this is us creating the definitive ranking, the objectively correct ranking of all of the movies within the Babylon 5 proper. This is the final one, the 8th film for us. Brent, when you rank this, we will have created the definitive list. And I'm curious where you're going to put it. That is
immutable, except for that one time we might mute it. But
exactly. Really. But only we can mute it.
Mutate it. Yeah.
Mutabilize it.
Mm-hmm.
Something. Our top 5, Brent, starting from number 5, River of Souls. Third space in number 4, A Call to Arms. In the beginning in the number 2 spot, and a resounding number 1 from us from last week, The Lost Tales. Brent, you have the final duty here, the massive responsibility. Where does The Road Home land?
It's so hard for me not to apply recency bias. Because I just had so much fun with this film. I enjoyed this film, But I think when I look at the thing, try to let this one stand on its own 2 feet, right? And how do the others stand on their own 2 feet? And I think Lost Tales is going to stay as number 1. So does this become number 2? Does it become number 3? I liked this better than I did Call to Arms.
Okay.
So it's either going to be number 2 or number 3. And In the Beginning is going to fall to number 3 or stay at number 2. And here's the thing. I compare this to In the Beginning. And what happened in the Beginning? In the Beginning took us back and filled in a lot of question marks that we didn't know. It interacted with stuff that was already there, and fleshed things out a lot more. And it did a little bit in the same thing that The Road Home did. We go back and we interact with where we were. Now, Road Home spent more time in alternate realities than it did in the prime reality. But still, I think In the Beginning did it better. I think In the Beginning was more satisfying. Does that make sense? Because it was really within the canon of what happened. It didn't Kelvin the Babylon 5 universe the way that Road Home did.
It just fleshed it out.
It did, yeah. And it kept it stayed within the confines of established lore and established things. So to me, I'm going to say In the Beginning, based on that alone, In the Beginning is going to sit higher than Road Home. So this is going to be our new number 3. And it's going to push Call to Arms down, Third Space down, and River of Souls is going to fall off the top 5, and that's okay.
That is okay. But I find fascinating, not about necessarily just the ranking, but that number 2 and 3, In the Beginning and The Road Home. And then if we add that to our other season rankings that happened, the most pivotal moment in all of Babylon 5 was the trilogy of Babylon Squared, War Without End 1 and 2. Because in the beginning, happened in the space of War Without End, right? There was this other stuff that was going on. And then this was the piece that made so much of that happen. And we saw Babylon Squared, the other piece. That is the pole in the tent. We can sit here all day and talk about Severed Dreams, and all the other incredible episodes out there. But those 3 episodes are Babylon 5. And I'm okay with that.
It's not a bad set of episodes, man.
Nope. Well, it just shows how rich they are. That they can create this much more content, connected to it. God, it's just brilliant.
Yeah. Jeff, before we go, our friend Ben over in the chat, who's watching, hello to our council chambers who are over there. He says this about this. And I think this will we'll put a cap on this whole thing. Ivanova's line at the end, sorry for the delay. Life got in the way. Felt like JMS apologizing to the fans for how long it's taken to get this out. And I will continue with that with what she said afterwards. We're back online and we're here to stay.
Yeah.
Jeff, I know you don't want a Babylon 5 reboot. I don't know that we need a reboot, but I know I want more Babylon 5. I want more here, and I want it to be here to stay. And so whatever's going on in Hollywood, whatever's going on in TV, get your figured out, and let's get back to some good writing that JMS has planned for this.
Absolutely.
And let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
That's my final word on Babylon 5.
There it is.
Let's do it.
That's it. What did they say? Let's go.
Let's go. Hit it.
And Brent, let's go. Past the road home.
Aww.
We're closing it out.
Aww.
And this is normally where we would play our game, guessing what's going to come up next week. But you know what? Hey, you know what I'm going to do? Let's do this.
Okay.
We play the game where we guess what the next episode is going to be about.
Mm-hmm.
Viewers, listeners,
ooh,
I want you to guess what's going to happen in next week's episode, because next week we're going to wrap up the entirety of Babylon 5. We're going to talk about the episodes, the movies, the crusade, about all the stuff, the interconnectivities and the everything about it. We don't even know what we haven't talked about. We're going to talk about it yet, but all those things. So if you're on YouTube, make some comments down there. If you're listening to us on a podcasting app, there's a link in the show notes that lets you, I think it says you can text us or whatever. We also have an email there. We're also on the social media. But what do you think we're going to talk about? What do you think we're going to like? What do you think we're going to say we were wrong about or whatever? You get to guess.
What are the things that stood out to us the most? Because that's certainly what we're going to be diving into. Yeah.
I can't wait. And I can't wait to read the things that you think we'll talk about and what we'll think and do. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll get to do a lot of that right here next week. Brent, we're done here. We're done. Finito. This is where we always wrap up and I say thank you, but I honestly want to stop and just there are a number of you. We just said 130 and then episodes, but then we had our wrap ups and stuff like that. So let's just say 135 episodes, and many of those well over an hour. So many of you have spent all of that time with us. Some from close to the beginning, some crammed it all into a couple of weeks and some superhuman feat. I don't have the words to express just I'm getting emotional, how much it means to me that you all did that, Brent, we started this whole thing on a lark. It was just dumb project. We were going to let's watch Babylon 5 and talk about it.
All we were trying to do is just let's document it. Let's document a journey. That's all we were trying to do. 110 episodes and we're out.
Let's give ourselves an excuse to keep watching this thing because we got to show up and record every week. And then all of you showed up and it never, I am going to cry. It never stops blowing me away that we've met so many of you and that you're here with us as we watch this show and talk about it. And so just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us through all of it. It literally means the world.
We would not be here if it wasn't for you guys.
Exactly.
We wouldn't. We might not have made it 110 episodes if it wasn't for you guys.
Exactly.
And we certainly wouldn't continue going if it wasn't for you guys. All of you on YouTube, all of you on the podcasting apps out there, all of you on Patreon, yeah, we wouldn't be here. Jeff, so much life has happened in the last, what's it been now? 2.5 years, 3 years almost?
Yeah, almost 3 years.
It'll be 3 years in May for us. Yeah. So, so much of life has happened. You guys have shared your lives with us. Jeff, think of all the emails we've gotten of people sharing deeply personal things.
Yes.
Literally marriages restored through not you and me, but just this thing.
Through and by all of this, the community,
babies,
the stuff,
born,
everything.
People have passed and gone beyond the rim. My father being one of them. You know, huge life changes happening. Entire construction projects.
Right?
Like
neither you nor me nor our homes are the same as they were when we started.
No, they're not. And we're all here together, and we've done it together. And you know what? In the words of Ivanova, we're back online, and we're here to stay.
I mean, we're not some deep space franchise. The station is about something.